Good morning. Lynn Christian at Soul Salt. Today we're going to talk about answering a question. A question that some of you send to me weekly. The question is, should I quit my job? Now, I'm not going to answer that question for you. I believe that you have enough sovereignty and wisdom inside of yourself to answer the question for yourself. However, that doesn't mean that it wouldn't be nice to get some input. So I have written a blog that has 15 different ways to consider that question, should I quit my job? I've had to face that at least 2 critical times in my life and answer that question for myself. And I work day in and day out with career reinventors who are asking that question constantly. So I hope the blog would be really helpful. You'll see a link below this video to see that blog. I'm going to go through those very same points, but what you're going to hear today is off the cuff, some additional sorts of pieces of information that might assist you in answering your question, should I quit my job? Now, it doesn't matter if it's poor management. It doesn't matter if it's a toxic environment, not getting enough pay, not enough flexibility. There are lots of reasons that you might be wondering if you should quit your job. And if that's the case, I would love for you to write in the comments below what it is that's compelling you to think about quitting your job. Okay, should I quit my job? Well, one of the first questions I would ask, and a lot of you know what I'm going to say next because you know me, I'm going to ask, how does your job align or not align with your core values, with who you say you are? And if there's misalignment, that's giving you a really big clue about being in your integrity or not being in your integrity in the job. Next one, will your current position help you reach a long-term goal? So this takes some reflection, and it's worth the time to reflect on, what are you really going for? What is it that you really want? And once you know that, then you can measure this question about, is this job taking me to that longer range goal or not? Does your job give you the flexibility and freedom that you need? Right now, a lot of us are responsible for children, aging parents, other concerns, and we also want to have some kind of freedom and flexibility in when we're working and when we're not. So is that the concern? And is that worth considering quitting a job over? Do you feel like you've already checked out? And I can tell you, this is one time when I really did leave a job. I was so checked out. I was being intimidated. I was being literally persecuted, and I could see that I was intimidating other people with the things I was doing, and I wasn't in an environment that encouraged innovation. I wasn't in an environment that encouraged great creativity and openness, and so I needed to leave. You might be in a situation that you've already left, and some of us leave 3 years, 6 months, 18 months before we physically leave. We leave emotionally. So consider, have you already checked out? Can you negotiate something from your current job? I know of an executive who was feeling like his job was just running over the top of him. And after a coaching session, he made adjustments on what he said yes to, how he said no. And after that year, he not only had his best performance reviews, he had his best bonus. So can you make some adjustments in your current situation? Do you have a support system? Because I will tell you, in the transition period between career reinvention from where you are to where you might land for 5 to 10 years, you will need support. And so look around and see, what kind of support do you have if you were going to quit your job? What kind of support do you have if you decide that staying in your job is the right thing? Another thing is, stop making excuses. There is never going to be the perfect time. You know this. There's never a perfect time to leave a relationship of any sort, including a job. So don't use excuses. Get in and problem solve and get the answer for yourself Stay, leave, modify. Is the risk of staying greater than the risk of leaving? What is it doing to you to stay? Have you reached that point that Anais Nin talked about, where you're so tight in the bud that it's going to cause more damage to stay tight than to open up into who you can really be? Is this job costing you happiness? There is no job on this planet for me that's worth my happiness. None. Consider, what's it doing to your happiness, this job? Could you put your skills somewhere else? Is there another place in the company, another place in the industry where your skills could be used? Is there another way, even in your own job? Again, I'm working with an individual in a tech company, and he can see that if he can adjust his skills, even in the position he's at, it makes things more tenable for him to stay for a little bit longer. Do you physically or mentally become ill when you think about your job? That's something to really consider. Is a job worth breaking your health? Does this job hold you back from living your full potential? You see, an environment is a big determining factor in how many of our strengths and our greatness get to be exuded. So ask that question. What is the job doing to your family? Is it hurting or helping? Is it hurting more or helping more? And finally, do you report to a toxic manager? I read something in Gallup Management one time, one of their publications, that said really good employees don't leave bad companies. They leave poor managers. They leave leaders and managers who are not leveraging their strengths and nurturing and growing them. Is that happening to you? And finally, maybe you don't have to quit your job and just jump into some new job that's the new big thing. Maybe you can find a bridge. My first job, where I left a 15-year career to start into something else, I knew it needed to be in the business arena. I had a bridge job for 6 months that kind of held my hand, gave me some steadiness, got me out of a toxic experience and into something new. So bridge jobs are something to consider. They're a step in between, just like a bridge is bridging a gap between where you are and where you're headed. Okay, a lot of things that I put on your plate. You can read the blog, you can review my comments. But the main thing is, today we were just talking about the question of, should I leave my job? Should I quit my job? There are many other questions like, well, if I do, what else should I do? Or if I stay, how should I manage that? Those are good things to engage in a free discovery session. So if you're interested in that, you can find the link below. It will give you an intake form and we can have a free discovery session and discuss that. In the meantime, if you found this useful, you might want to subscribe to the Soul Salt Coaching, all one word, Soul Salt Coaching YouTube channel, or follow us on Instagram. I hope that this has been useful. And if you're asking the question, should I quit my job? You're not crazy. It's not ludicrous, even in the middle of a pandemic when I'm recording this and an economic downturn. There are jobs to be had. There are changes that can be made. And this is a great time to get those things going for you if it's the right time. Thanks for joining me. Take good care.